Hello and welcome to new and returning viewers. Today, my little buddy Panther has decided it's a cold day outside, so he's just gonna relax and snooze in his other chair. As I go through the books, let me know in the comments down below if you've read them and what were your thoughts about the material covered. If you've seen my previous video, the $25 book haul, then you know that part of my book hauls include books that I found at the library. And this book haul is no different. One pile came from the thrift store, which I'd actually gone to find a different book. I didn't come across that one, but there were 5 great finds there. The first book that I found during this trip was John Saul Shadows, and I was quite excited to see that it was only 99 cents. I've recently revisited some of John Saul's work, and a few months ago I read House of Reckoning. If you enjoy well-written, scary books, John Saul is definitely a good author to check out. Another book that I found that I wasn't actually looking for is How to Hunt Ghosts, a practical guide, and this is by Joshua P. Warren. I decided to pick this book up, and again, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know that I've already covered Journeys into the Unknown by Richard Palmisano, a Canadian paranormal investigator, and 101 Ways to Find a Ghost by Melissa Martin Ellis. I read Monster Hunters last year. Haven't done a video on that one yet, by T. Krulos. The author isn't the investigator in this case. He goes to talk to some different teams, and there's a variety of different subjects covered. Monster Hunters is on the trail with ghost hunters, Bigfooters, UFOlogists, and other paranormal investigators. So that was an interesting read. That's why I picked up How to Hunt Ghosts, because I enjoy reading about different investigators, what their ideas and theories are, and the different types of equipment that they use. The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. How My Bad Boy Brother Proved to Me There's Life After Death, and that's by Annie Kagan. I discovered this book when I belonged to a book club a number of years ago, and it's something that I probably wouldn't have picked up otherwise. It was a very interesting read, and when I saw it at Goodwill a few days ago, I decided it was something that I'd like to revisit. This book is Perennials for Ontario, which is where I live, and it's by Alison Beck and Kathy Renwall. I'm looking forward to going through this as I try to focus on perennials in my garden, and in particular, plants that are native to Ontario. I prefer to find perennials, and that's the majority of plants that I have in my yard. 1, because they're lower maintenance. 2, they tend to provide a lot of food and shelter for the insects and the different animals in my area. So I decided to pick up this book as it's specific to where I live and learning about the different plants. I picked this book up because it gives you information about the height, when they bloom, what's required for the ideal growing. It also talks about problems and pests so that you have an idea of what may come up in terms of the plant and things to look out for. These pages are about the coneflower, otherwise known as echinacea. If you've seen my earlier videos with my groundhog, then you know why I can't grow echinacea. When I've tried having them in my yard, or if I have black-eyed Susans, those seem to be a favorite of the groundhog. So as much as I enjoy these plants and would like to grow them, Woody has a bit of a echinacea tooth, shall we say. The other book that I decided to pick up is James Redfield's The Celestine Vision. I've done a video previously about the Celestine prophecy, as well as a video on my process for pulling information together using the Celestine prophecy as an example. I've read this book a number of years ago, and as I'm beginning to start working through the Celestine prophecy again, as I have both the text and the exercise book with that, I thought it would be a good time to revisit the Celestine Vision. So that was my $18 part of my book haul. I also that day headed off to the library because I had some books to return, and I decided to pick up a few more while I was there. This time I found The Spy. Like before, I've already read this one and used my sticky notes, and I really enjoy doing this so that when I'm ready to go and make notes on a book from the library, I can just flip to the page and find whether it was a quote or a concept that I wanted to make note of. This particular story is about Mata Hari, and it's just before she is going to be executed. The other book that I picked up by Paulo Coelho is Aleph. I haven't read this one yet. A few days ago, I finished Blackwood Farm, which is also part of the Chronicles. I've been going through and reading the Chronicles, but not in order, which I haven't found to be a problem because last year I read Merrick, which is, I believe, book 8 in the series. And Merrick is part of why I went back to reading the 3 books in the Mayfair Witches trilogy. And the Vampire Chronicles is the same. There's a crossover between the Mayfair Witches and Lestat and all the different vampires that come up in that story. So I haven't found it difficult to keep up with what's been happening, even though I haven't read the books in order, which is good because if you're not into reading the entire series, each book has an interesting story all on its own without the rest of the other books. The 4th book that I decided to pick up, and it wasn't so much to read front to back as it was to check out and see if this is something I want to look for and purchase, is Lost Symbols, A Guide to the Language of Symbolism, and this is by Nadia Julian. And I wanted to check this out because if you've seen some of earlier videos, you know that I'm interested in ancient civilizations as well as a variety of other things. And symbols are quite important to understand and get an idea of where did they come from, why did they have a certain meaning to that culture or time period. So I just wanted to check this out and see if it would be something that would be of benefit in my studies as I pull all the other information together. Let me know in the comments down below whether you've read any of these books and what were your thoughts on them. If you've enjoyed watching this video or you found any of the information to be of benefit, be sure to give the like button a little tickle as that helps me out. If any of the books that I mentioned sound interesting to you and you're interested in learning a bit more about them, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when I've uploaded a video covering that particular book.